Yeah. 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 Bronx on the scene, nose to the ground, reads every scratch, every step, every sound. Dust on the boot, mud on the cuff, one wrong move and he calls you bluff. He found a lie in the turn of a face, found a fresh print in an empty place. Tell up high when the story won't blend, he don't bark loud, he just gets close. Damn, sniffing out facts, no room for slack. Truth in the crack, now we don't look back. BronXtails, BronXtails, chasing truth through the rails. BronXtails, BronXtails, corruption slips then fails. Sniffing out facts, uncaging the truth. Corruption on a tight leash, and he's pulling it loose. Hey, hey. Idaho nights cold, over the floor. 4 names heavy in the whole town sore. Bronx in the weeds where the silence stayed, digging for proof in the tracks it made. He found the gap in the masked up tail, found the bent clue in the buried trail. Bone white truth in the folder stack, one clean set and the case swings back. Sniffing out facts, no room for slack. Truth in the crack, now we don't look back. BronXtails, BronXtails, chasing truth through the rails. BronXtails, BronXtails, corruption slips then fails. Sniffing out facts, uncaging the truth. Corruption on a tight leash, and he's pulling it loose. One paw print, one torn thread, one false alibi, falls dead. Chasing truth through the rails. BronXtails, BronXtails, corruption slips then fails. Spit facts, uncaging the truth. Corruption on a tight leash, and he's pulling it loose.
Hello, it's Monday. Welcome, everybody. Sorry about the intro. I need to figure out where to play it from because it seems like when I play it, if I even look at my mouse, let alone move my mouse, the thing starts like getting all weird and offbeat, and I don't know. I'll figure it out. But hello. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, and I hope your day and week has started perfectly amazing, just like you are. Hello to all of our family. We've got everybody in the house, all of our mods, all of our favoritist people. Well, everything is alleged in our opinion only. I want to start talking about, just have a brief conversation about this Turvey Cy stuff. What is going on? What is going on with them? So, hi, Bluebird. Good to see you. Hey, Mountain Man. Hey, Bianca, Christina, Miss Carol. Somebody tell me what the heck is going on with these two. They are literally acting like 7th grade female girls that just got their monthly cycle for the first time and are crying in the bathroom. So Turvey does an interview and, speaks his mind and whatnot and, gives us some information. And now Cy wants to come out. First of all, he promised Lana that if he came out and spoke, she would get the first interview. And now he's not doing the interview there. He's going to go to the custody queens, which is fine. I mean, wherever he goes is where he goes. I guess he can pick where he wants to go, right? It's just kind of about integrity. But he says he's not going to speak on the case at all, that he just wants to set the record straight with Turvey. So you guys are acting like little girls that are crying and whining over junior high drama and somebody gossiping, and you don't like what they said about you. So you have to make a big dramatic big deal and correct it publicly. Like, why do either of them, especially with their, careers and they're experts in things, like, and you guys are worried about what people on YouTube think? Are you kidding me? What? Like, what is really going on? It seems very, very strange. I don't even know why they would give a crap. Who cares what people on YouTube think? So he's going to come on and just not speak about the case at all. The whole thing with Ann Taylor putting out that press release regarding Turvey, we need to really think on that for a second, because it's like, if he was really violating an NDA, like she says, why wouldn't she send him a cease and desist letter? Instead, she goes to like social media and makes a post about it with like this letter. Like, how much more drama and fake can you be? That was just fake. That was just for looks. That was to try and cover her own behind on anything, really. Oh, I put this letter. No, none of that was like binding in any way. It's like making a post on Facebook. That's how much it didn't matter what she said. It was just like making a post on Facebook. Like, he was trying to cover her ass. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just as fake as the PCA. I'm like, this has no bearing on anything. If he really was violating something, you would think she would actually do something about it rather than just making a stinking post on the internet. Which should tell you something, right? Should tell you that oh, we got 3 months. Woo woo. We love our family over here. Yep, it's just all fake. Covering the ass, being fake. It's all for show. Here's my thing that I'm struggling with every single one of them. So if Chris Whitcomb, Turvey, we know he's got information. Turvey, Ann Taylor, Cy Ray, how come none of them actually give a flying crap about Bryan Kohberger or the case or the victims in the case? They don't, and none of them give a hoot about the victims, the case, the truth, the corruption. They're just worried about what somebody else is saying about them and how others perceive them. That's what they're worried about. So Cy Ray makes it a point to take time out of his life to do an interview, not for truth, not to give information on the case so people can find the truth, to appear to look better and correct lies that Turvey. Who cares? I don't care. I don't care what either of you say, because neither of you are saying anything pertinent to this case that's going to help get the truth when you guys have the information, but you won't give it. You don't give a crap about the victims or this case at all. All of you guys can kick rocks. That's exactly right. Now he's making excuses for the corruption. I truly and honestly, I feel bad for Lana. Not that she really gives a shit if anybody feels bad for her. And I don't mean it in that way. I just mean, like, when somebody says, especially somebody with that type of resume, promises you something, I'm sure she was just waiting for him to say he was ready. And then she finds out that he went somewhere else. I'm glad it's somebody else in our community. I truly am. Custody queens do a great job. It has nothing to do with them or their channel at all. It's just the principle behind Cyray's actions that is not admirable at all. I'm trying to get my point across, but nicely. So yeah. Hello, good to see you. Sounds like a diversion, especially coming to YouTube. I agree. I absolutely agree. So, Turvey did come out and give us a little bit of information, pay attention to the spare bedroom, the bracelet with blood, things like that. We got some information from Turvey at least, but we could have gotten a lot more. And nobody cares. Nobody else involved in this case cares at all about talking about the case. They just want to set the record straight for how people perceive them. Get the heck out of here. We are over here, and I don't mean me or us. I just mean we as a community are over here paying thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for FOIA information. And I don't know if people think we do this for our health or for fun. This is for truth. I mean, people are not going to be out here spending tens of thousands of dollars of their own money to get the truth just for shits and gigs. Like, no, we really want the truth, and we're trying really, really hard. People bust their butt all day at work, and I don't care if it's 50 cents. I don't care if it's $100 or $1 million. People are giving up their hard-earned money to get the truth, yet these people have it and don't give a crap to give it. They just want to make sure they look good to the public eye. Miss me with it. That is junior high whiny brat drama. Stop it. It makes me feel like it makes my stomach upset. That's how frustrating it is. Okie dokie. Everything is alleged in our opinion only, and we are going to get our show started. So we don't have a whole lot of new information right now. So we're going to go back to kind of doing what we were doing before, which is taking little bits of information in different topics of the case and showing them, discussing them. I'm hoping Mason Barstow interview should come any day, so we should have that this week. On Sunday, we have a guest talking about the autopsies that has experience in that field, so that will be great. And that's kind of what our week looks like for right now, just to keep you guys all in the loop. I want to talk about Ethan and Xana's phone. And really, I just kind of want to talk it out, but I do have little bits to share just to kind of prove my point. But let me find this first one. Here we go. Okay, and I'm curious what your guys' opinion is on this. I'm going to play just a few sentences out of Bethany's interview.
A 24-hour period is what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So what time on Saturday did you get up?
I don't know, actually. I got up later than all of them. They all went and got coffee and food. And then I woke up and no one was home other than Ethan. And me and Ethan were just hanging out upstairs.
Anybody remember what time you woke up?
Probably like 10 or 11 maybe.
Did you text anyone when you first got up?
No, I figured that they just went and got coffee or something because I went upstairs and no one was there. And then I tracked them and they were getting going. So.
Boom. This is Saturday afternoon or, late morning, 11 noon, whatever time it was. I'm going to play it one more time.
Who came and picked you up?
My friend.
You really checked it out? Just real? Mm-hmm.
The scream, does it sound like either a male or a female?
I don't know.
Before.
Mm.
So, what time on Saturday did you get up?
I don't know, actually. I got up later than all them. They all went and got coffee and food. And then I woke up and no one was home other than Ethan. And me and Ethan were just hanging out upstairs.
But you remember what time you woke up?
Probably like 10 or 11 maybe.
Did you text anyone when you first got up?
No, I figured that they just went and got coffee or something because I went upstairs and no one was there. And then I tracked them and they were getting coffee. So.
Sydney's absolutely right. See them fading facts turns from a normal voice level to a literal whisper by the end of her sentence. That's a really good observation. Real quick, thank you so much corruption. Keep up the good work, Logan. Much love and appreciation. And we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. What I really wanted to point out here is Bethany says that Saturday afternoon, she got on her cellular device and tracked either Ethan and Xana or both of them. Saturday afternoon, Ethan and Xana's phone had their location services on, which is normal. From my understanding, they always had their location services on. Even Bethany said that day there was proof that they had their location services on both of their devices. So at what point did Ethan and Xana's phone, was their location purposefully turned off? Both of them. Thank you so much, Jen. We have 5 new family members to our pack, our canine crew. We are green now, baby. Thank you so much, my love. Somebody had to, at some point during that night, take both of their phones or make them take both of their phones and turn off the location. Why? It's not because they were at home. That's not why somebody would turn off their location, because that would look super normal. Where were they at that their location needed to be turned off? I'm starting to wonder, did these people come home with Ethan and Xana? Did they take them somewhere else first? Did something happen? What was going on? Their location services were purposefully turned off. I don't know if you guys realize how big of a deal that is. That's premeditation. That's a big deal. Somebody did not want people to know, roommates, friends, family, whoever, did not want them to know where Ethan and Xana were at. I want to show a picture because I want to talk about, my computer was wigging out as that dang intro was playing. So now I got to go back and find the picture. I just want, right here it is. Okay. I fully believe both of these phones, both Xana and Ethan's phones, were planted. Not new information, right? But as I'm sitting here looking at this device, if the phone is laying next to Xana's body where she was found, well, we know Xana's body was staged. She was found spread eagle, and most people think, as far as the defense goes, that was not natural. She didn't get in that position naturally. We also see drag marks across the floor. So it could be her slipping, and it could be somebody or people pulling her to, out of the corner area, or whatever, and, put her in a specific position for humiliation or whatever it is. They want us to believe if this phone is next to her body, they wanted us to believe that Xana kept a hold of this phone that's not even her phone. This is Ethan's phone. That Xana kept a hold of this phone during the entire struggle for it to land with her on the ground in that position. That's really what they want us to believe, but that doesn't make sense. She's not going to hold on to the phone the whole time. I mean, yeah, I see that there's a chunk taken out of the phone, but I don't believe she held on to that phone the whole time. But both the phones were planted next to their bodies. That's very, very clear, especially the fact that actually Xana's phone not only is laying next to Ethan, but that phone has no blood on it, but it's laying on top of a comforter that has blood spatter all over it. And the phone doesn't have one drop or speck of blood on it at all. So they were definitely planted. But how, at what point in time, how does this phone get under the napkin, under the hanger, under this piece of clothing that was put there like that? I don't know about you guys, but I fully believe at this point, whoever took their phones not at 4 something or 3 something whenever Ethan and Xana were attacked. I think it was much, much earlier than that. Much earlier. Why would you need to turn off their location services if they were just at home? That does not make any sense. You would think to turn off their location services because you're somewhere else and you don't want people to know where you're at. I don't believe that Ethan and Xana both of them turned off their own location services. For what? I don't believe that for a second. Did somebody have control of Ethan and Xana long before they came home that night? I don't know what that was, but that scared me. It doesn't make any sense at all. Airplane mode, not just location, was turned off. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. My other thing with the phones is, so Dylan wants to tell us that she's calling their phones and calling their phones. You mean to tell me that nobody's phone rang at all? Oh, thank you, Sleuther, so much. I appreciate you. That's so sweet. Aw. Oh, thank you so much, Angel. We've got 5 new canine crew members. Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. So sweet. We're going to get these for you, baby. I promise you. Yeah, it would make sense that somebody would put their phone on airplane mode or something. I just don't understand why, if we can hear a phone ring on the 1112 camera, and we know it's not any of the, victims, if we can hear somebody else's phone ring, we'd be able to hear Kaylee's phone ringing, Maddie's phone ringing, Dana's, any of them. We should be able to even hear Dylan and Bethany's phones ringing. We should hear phones ringing repeatedly, back to back to back. We don't hear not one. Not one. Like, what is really going on here with these phones? It makes me wonder, were all of their phones taken at the same time? Which would then mean that, yeah, Maddie and Kaylee's would have been taken at 2:54 when they both went dark at the same time. But then that would also mean that somebody would have had to have been possibly using their phones. I think somebody was using their phones. I think people were using their phones. And I think that tells us that this is way more of a planned attack than random people going into the house and killing all these people for no reason. There's a reason. There's a reason. This was very much planned and took way more time than they want us to believe, for sure. I'm not sure. I wish we could know what time. I wish we could have information on Xana and Ethan's phones. That would give us way better timeline. But that's why we don't have it, right? Because they don't want us to know the timeline. Because it's going to tell us that it wasn't anywhere near 4 something in the morning. Nowhere near it. I haven't turned my ringer on in years, and I've never put my phone in airplane mode, not even on an airplane. Oh my gosh. Could it have been an all weekend thing? Well, Bethany said in her interview that she tracked Ethan and Xana on Saturday afternoon, Saturday about noonish, probably. So it was on earlier in the day. But then suddenly they both of them go off. Both of them. I mean, technically all 4. We just don't know what time Ethan and Xana's went off. I don't know. There's something with these phones. I just can't put my finger on it, but there's something with these phones. I hope someday we get more information on Ethan and Xana's phones, because I think it's going to tell us way more than we even expected it to. And I'm starting to think that this DoorDash stuff it wasn't them. It wasn't them. It was a way to get access. It was a way to extend their life, and it was a way to get access. Okay, doke. I want to talk about this. And let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Okie doke. If I was fighting with my boyfriend, I'd turn off my location for sure. I don't think it shows that they were fighting, though. I don't think Ethan and Xana were really fighting enough to like hide their devices from each other. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But when DM mentioned a dream about being kidnapped, was that leakage? That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, listen, we know because of her phone activity, she didn't sleep at all that night. So all of this, I don't know if it's a dream. She never dreamt because she never slept. So it has to be some sort of leakage or telling on herself. That's a good catch, because she does say the word like kidnapping. She does speak about this woman that kidnapped in a fake dream, because she wasn't dreaming. She wasn't sleeping. Angel, hi Logan. I watched Shadow Ghost the other day, and he had a good point. It hadn't snowed since the 7th, but there was still snow in the backyard. It only snowed 0.1 inch on the 7th. I found that very strange. Love you, girl. That is strange. It is. Not only is it strange that it hadn't snowed since the 7th, if that's true, I'd have to go back and I guess check the weather if I can. I don't know. But there was still snow in their backyard, and there was still footprints in their backyard as well that were just fine. I know it snowed later that night, but yeah, we do see snow in their backyard and we do see footprints. And now I can't even remember if looking out from the back door, to the side where the other houses are, I don't even know if I remember seeing snow there. I think I do. I think Bryan showed it. I think there was snow in those pathways that people walk. Karmic Retribution showed a bunch of pathways that people in the area can walk, which is just absurd to me. It is absolutely crazy. I had no idea until Karmic Retribution showed that photo when they were in the area. It was like last week or the week before. Went to that area. First of all, I didn't realize how close Ethan's apartment was to King Road. And second of all, they showed so many walking paths in between houses, in between apartments, back in between these like little field areas that are covered by trees. And how easy it would be, so easy for people who live there and know the area to sneak in and out just using those little man-made trails. Like they're obviously just students walking to where they need to go, but it ends up making like a little makeshift trail. So easy for people who know that area to slip in and out using those trails, especially in the middle of the night dressed in black. I don't know. That was just wild to me. I didn't know that existed. But yeah, there was still snow in their backyard. There weren't I don't remember seeing Murphy footprints in the snow in the backyard, but a lot of those footprints were there previous to the crime as well, because Bethany has a photo. It was either that day or the day before or sometime that weekend. She has a photo on their deck or their patio, and it's facing the backyard. We can see behind her into the backyard, and we can see all of those same footprints are already there. So yeah, interesting. Okay, so let me see if I can make this bigger, because I want to touch on this. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm sure you do. Dylan talked about people playing pranks on each other, specifically like Kaylee and Maddie and, the girls in the house. They would play pranks on each other by downloading apps that would spoof phone numbers, and they would text each other and play jokes on each other, not realizing that the texts are coming from people or your friends or people sitting next to you in the same house. They think it's a random number, and this random number is a stalker. I think it's possible that some of these random numbers could very much be Dylan. There's a lot of pieces of interviews where stuff like this that we're about to talk about comes up. And it's interesting because they're all kind of the same. I mean, look, who was it? I think it was Lakeland, said that somebody was getting text messages. They didn't know the number, but they were like stalky like messages, like I have a look into your life type of messages. Jack was getting text messages asking for Kaylee's nudes, which were those messages were so strange to me. At first, I actually thought that it was Kaylee who downloaded like a fake number app and was texting Jack from it to make him think that people were interested in Kaylee, so much so that they'd have the balls to ask him for her nudes. I thought it was Kaylee stringing Jack along, trying to make him jealous, trying to keep him on that hook for a little while longer. But I do think some of them are possibly Dylan. Moto, thank you so much. Do you think Bethany was tracking them because they were told it was in order to play a prank? I don't know if she was tracking them because she I don't even know why she was tracking them. She says she came upstairs and nobody was home but Ethan, which is strange because I previously mentioned how I think it's possible, it might be a reach, but it's possible that the affair Whitcomb was talking about was possibly Ethan and Bethany. I don't know about you. I guess it would depend on how close you are with your roommate's boyfriend. But I don't know if I'd feel comfortable waking up and going up and sitting in the living room together alone with my roommate's boyfriend. I would kind of probably just stay in my room in my jammies and drink coffee or whatever. But instead, Bethany goes up and hangs out with Ethan, and then she's tracking their location. Is she tracking their location to figure out where they're at, or is she tracking their location to see how close they are to home so her and Ethan can mess around? Speculating, could be a reach. I don't know. I'm just seeing what you guys think of that. Just thinking outside the box. Maybe Moto. I mean, I think that's very much possible. We know that they play pranks on each other, but it could be. Yeah, it could be that she's just nosy too. Just always tracking people. That's what she said. It does. It does sound, I don't know. Maybe she was like, hey, maybe they're going to get food. Let me see where they're at and I can place an order too. But I don't think she placed any sort of order that day with them. She was just seeing where they were at. She makes a point last minute to say they were upstairs. Wait, I thought they were at Taco Bell. Or that was earlier. Plot twist, Bethany's actually the stalker. I feel like at this point, anything is possible. My mind is going to the open front door. Remember the week before they came home and their front door was open? Now learning how many pranks they play on each other and how different they are, I think it's possible that that could have actually been a prank. But it's also probably even more possible that it was a warning. It was a warning. Whoever did this to them had been planning this for a long time. And I think whoever did this to them is the person who left their front door open the week before. Somebody, and more than one person, was watching them, And they knew enough that nobody was home that day. They watched so often that nobody was home that day and they knew it. So they went into their house. Now, who would be able to do that though? It's not like you could just sit outside and watch because you'd be obvious. It sounds like it's somebody who lives really close, doesn't it? Somebody who can watch from their own home and see when they leave or come back, who leaves and who comes back, and what time that is to know when they can gain entry to their house to learn the layout, to see how many people actually live there and where all of their rooms are. Now, it's very interesting that if people did that and they were the ones who came into their house the week before to learn the layout, then that would make it extremely, extremely obvious who the targets were because they learned where their rooms were. So in this document here, this is with Lakeland. And I wanted to point out here that it says, the question is, did you hear from Dylan or Bethany anything about Kaylee or Maddie, like having a side piece or kind of doing their own thing? Or like, was there any gossip or anything like that? Lakeland says, I did hear that last spring break, Maddie kissed a boy on their like Mexico trip. Lakeland, the question is, let's talk about that. Like, how did you find out? And Lakeland says it was Dylan who told me. Thank you, Moto. It would have to be a place that's across the road with easy access to the front door. Yeah, it would surely have to be somebody who can see their parking lot and front door to see who's coming in and out, to see what cars they're getting in, right? They knew who was driving what. And it was probably somebody who knew that that Range Rover belonged to Kaylee. I agree with you. It would have to be somebody who could see. I'm going to turn this light down real quick. It's a little bit bright. That's probably good, right? Okay. Angel says, did you hear about the game Psycho Killer, Logan? Some people think they may have been actually playing it when this all happened. It's a crazy game. I have never heard of that. I will have to look it up, though, because that sounds like a game I don't want to play. Come on down. You're the next contestant in Lose Your Life in a game called Psycho Stalker. No. Okay. Now, the last comment. So again, we're talking about Lakeland. This is Lakeland's interview. She said she heard that Maddie kissed a boy in Mexico. So basically cheating on her boyfriend. And they ask, how did you find out about that? And Lakeland says, Dylan. Lakeland says, Dylan just told me that I heard that Maddie kissed this guy on their spring break trip in Mexico. There's a couple of these actually where Dylan is giving up information. And I don't think Dylan is giving up information because she's so close with Lakeland and just, they tell each other everything. No. I think that Dylan sits around in the house and listens to their conversations and then spreads it around like gossip to be hurtful. She is so jealous of probably every female in that town. I think that she listens to their conversation and spreads, obviously, she told Lakeland about Maddie kissing somebody else. And that's probably how that information got spread around because Dylan was telling everybody about it. How hurtful is that? She was purposefully eavesdropping or ear hustling or whatever you want to call it. And I just want to know how many other times did she do that with her supposed roommates and supposed so close friends? I mean, that's absolutely jealous. I mean, that says right there, first of all, you're a shitty person, you're a shitty friend, and you're freaking psychotic. That's what you do. And we know that's what she does. How do we know that's what she does? Because in one of her interviews, she said, Kaylee and Maddie came home and they were sitting on the couch and I could hear their whole conversation. No, you purposefully listen for their conversations so you can know all of their personal and private information. So then you can go spread it around and be hurtful. That's what I think. There's a couple of these actually. There's a couple of these. But yeah, that's what I think. And then since we are talking about Dylan, I want to mention something else. And that is Yesi. Hold on. Yeah, exactly. Power struggle. Who said that? Power struggle. Yeah. I will be popular. I will be liked. Does she think that by spreading Kaylee or Maddie or Xana or anybody else in the house, does she think by spreading their information to other people, other females, other sorority girls, that that's going to make the other sorority girls like her? I mean, if you have any brain cells, you would say, oh, she does that to them, then she'll do that to me. I don't want to be friends with her. I believe DM hated Maddie, especially about what happened at Halloween. Yeah, I mean, to sit there and spread private information, think about that. That means Kaylee and Maddie, for sure, Kaylee and Maddie, possibly even Xana, they can't even have private conversations in their own home with each other without Dylan listening and going and spreading all the information. That's crappy. That's really icky. Like, I don't, Yes, ma'am. She's creepy. The more I learn about her, the more I'm super creeped out by her. Super creeped out. Oh, it is. It's a real big game in Boise. They were playing it in Moscow, but after this happened, it was banned. Really? I'll have to look into it. Oh. Did you see the condition of Dylan's room? Even to a guy, that's a turnoff. I'd pass just based off our dirty room. That is bad. It was pretty bad. Yeah. And it's not like they didn't have time to clean. I don't understand. They even made that. Thank you so much. Watch the dumpster when the body cam of first cop. Okay. I bet you $1 million Dylan told Lakeland about Maddie that night because she knew Maddie wouldn't dispute it. Probably. Yep. Hey, Ken. Good to see you. Oh, Birdie showed the game. Lots of similarities. I'm going to have to look into it. Yeah. No, I hadn't heard of it. Nikki says all the Adderall at that house, you would think DM would have a clean house. Right? Get hopped up and want to clean your house. Give me something to do. I need to move around. That is a good point, though. Okay. So thank you so much. It's empty cup gets out. It's full. Oh. I'll check into it. We might be playing it on Wednesday. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go a little bit further. Yesi and Bethany were very, very close to each other. They were really good friends. Well, who called Moscow and told on Dylan and said Dylan wasn't drunk that night? Well, it was Yesi. Now, I just said that Yesi and Bethany were really close. Yesi called MPD. It was within the week, but it wasn't like the first day or anything. It was a couple days later. Yesi calls MPD and tells them that Dylan was not drunk that night. How would Yesi know if Dylan was telling people she was drunk or not? Oh, Bethany. I bet anything. Yes, absolutely. Good for Yesi. Absolutely. But I bet you anything Bethany talked Yesi into calling MPD to tell on Dylan so MPD would open their freaking eyes and understand that Dylan was lying to them. So it would be a reason for them to go, oh, she wasn't drunk at all. Oh, she's lying. Let's interrogate her. Let's see what information we can pull from her then. But it didn't end up happening that way. But I guarantee you that Bethany talked Yesi into calling MPD to tell them that Dylan is lying to them. And I bet you anything that Bethany thought on that. Bethany thought, what's a way that I can get MPD to know that Dylan is lying? Dylan is part of this. Dylan is scary to me, without Dylan finding out that it was me or somebody I know who told on them, because she's scared of Dylan. That's what I think she did. I think she thought, I'll ask Yesi or a friend to just call in and say Dylan wasn't drunk. You know, it's kind of harmless, but it should have at least piqued their interest in knowing, oh, she said she was drunk and that's why she can't remember or see or know or anything. But if she wasn't drunk then and she's lying, then what's the real story here? Unfortunately, it didn't work. But I bet anything that was Bethany was behind that. She wanted them to know that Dylan was lying. I bet you anything. It was kind of like a passive way of her trying to get them to look into Dylan. Does she though? Does she though? Or was that maybe like she asked me to hang out, so I'm going to go hang out with her so she doesn't, you know, hate me or, you know, just play nice to make it seem like everything's okay? I think that's possible as well. Dylan asked me to meet up with her while I'm visiting or in town or whatever. Yeah, it was a group of girls thing. So maybe Bethany's like, well, I'll go, then she won't suspect that, you know, I'm telling on her or I'm scared of her or anything like that. That's possible. Mark B, a little help towards the FOIA. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Mark B. That's so generous. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for all you do. You put a lot of work into, that's a lot of work to nail down all those times and find all that stuff. That's a lot of work. So you are very much appreciated. That's true. That's absolutely true. And we definitely know that now, especially after Travis T. Logic dug into Bethany so deep in her own words. That's what's so great about statement analysis is it's their own words. It's not gossip. It's not, well, maybe it could mean this. No, it's pretty much a science. That's what's so great about statement analysis. I do want to show you really quick a video recently made by Karmic Retribution. Just because I like to share good info. And this is interesting. So let's play it. Plus her music is so fire.
And she's like, hey, they caught him. They caught him.
In the green hush of the Idaho hills, where the pines lean close and the cold wind chills, there's a town that shines like a postcard dream, but the silence there is not what it seems. Old stones watch from the memory lane, and the nights hum low like a whispered name by the campus.
Oh, look at you guys. He had his fucking phone on. Look at that. Yeah, he was gonna film us. Look. Oh, wow. Wow, you suck.
Got you, bruh.
We got you, dude.
You down. Karmic retribution calling in the dark, hearts in the day like shadows in the park. Moscow, you wear your halo like a mask, but the river knows what the dead would ask. Beautiful, broken, buried out of sight. Angels in the morning, devils in the night. Karmic retribution, let the truth come through. All the buried sins are coming back for you.
I mean, after the first couple of weeks, we're like, this guy's gonna get away with this.
University doors swing soft and wide, but the halls keep ghosts on the inside. Fraternity, laughter, sorority, gold drip.
So that is Elijah Hill. He is, there we go. There we go. Thank you, itty bitty poo. Elijah Hall, Sigma Chi filmmaker. That is him. He was friends with that group of, the Sigma Chi boys and the 2022 group that, we all dig into. He was friends with them. He's also an avid hunter. Itty Bitty Poo says he's a filmmaker. I think somebody else said he was a filmmaker too. But that very much looks like him, didn't it? So Karmic Retribution, they were out in Moscow. It was either last week or the week before, showing us around, showing us where Ethan's apartment was, showing us where the walking paths are by the house and kind of through the neighborhood over there. And as they were doing that, this black truck was following them. And obviously Karmic is, live on her video. So she caught the black truck, the person who was driving it. She caught him trying to film them. And it was this guy, Elijah Hall, who was friends with that group of people in 2022. Very crazy. Especially, that night, we also see a lot of a black truck during the night of the crime in videos, in 1112 video, Linda Lane video. I don't know if it's the same black truck. I believe it's a more lifted black truck, but regardless, this black truck was following them. How did he know that it was a YouTuber rather than a DoorDasher or a Uber person? How did he know? That's creepy. That's so creepy. Yes, thank you, Moto. He's on the body cam. The black truck is on the Banfield body cam as well. It's also there's a black truck that turns their headlights on, and then you can see their headlights light up the back of Jack D's yard, and it sits there for like 5 minutes. And then you can see somebody walk in front of the headlights because the headlights blip out when somebody walks in front of it. And then a couple minutes later, you see the black truck come down Walenta. So the black truck lives in the area, obviously. Crazy. I had to share it. Want to make sure everybody sees that because that is super creepy. Very, very creepy. I just don't understand how they know that it's a YouTuber and not just other people were like, oh, well, they have out-of-state plates. It's just Washington. I mean, Molly McMichael went to Washington and came to Moscow. I'm sure people from Washington come there. It's a college town. I'm sure they've got license plates from all over. How would they know that? How would they? Creepy. I don't know. Just creepy. All right. Let's get into some good stuff. Are you guys ready? Let's get into some good stuff here. I want to show you a knife. This is, so Pav has been making videos lately trying to figure out the exact style knife or knives, several of them, that made these wounds, because we know that there's several different knives that made all of these wounds. It's not just one, but he does believe that one of them is this black K-bar. It's a 7-inch black K-bar, and this K-bar specifically has a serrated edge just up closer. It's got like 3 notches on it of serration closer to the hilt of the knife. And he does believe that this black K-bar with the serrated edge could possibly be one of the weapons that caused some of these wounds. He also believes that a knife like possibly this butcher style knife is another knife that made some of the wounds. But I want you to keep this knife in mind because I want to share something else really quick. And this eventually will flow into our FOIA, our next FOIA that we're raising the funds for now. This is the Spillman report for the knife found in Genesee. There is a report, I believe it's report number 144. I think possibly it's 144 in the ISP reports. Don't quote me, but I think it is report 144 in the ISP report. It is somebody called in. They were playing in a park or a field or whatever and said, "Hey, I'm playing out here at the park with my daughter and I found a knife." So they called the police. The police came out there and took pictures of it and took it into evidence, but never did anything with this knife. And this is the report. This is the Spillman report on it, not the report that ISP made. This is a different report. This incident happened 3/19/23. I FOIA'd pictures of this knife. So eventually we'll get pictures of this knife and see exactly what it looks like. And I want to know because it was a K-bar knife with a sheath. But let's see how it was described. At 10:45 in the morning, kids found a knife and sheath in the trees they were playing in. Spoke with RP reporting person and gathered the knife from her. She told me her niece was playing near a group of trees at the top of Ash Street near Spruce Street in Genesee, where she found the knife on the ground. The knife is a black K-bar with the handle wrapped and in a black sheath. When I looked at the blade, there was a little bit of rust and dust on it, like it had been in the dirt for some time. I will book this in found property. They booked it, a K-bar knife found at Ash and Spruce on the ground. Knife is black with handle wrapped with the black tape-like material and a black sheath. They took pictures of this knife and handed all of this info over to Moscow Police Department. What is interesting about this? We all know that dried old blood, especially after being buried in the ground, can surely look like rust, right? That sounds like a poem. It's just strange to me that this knife is a black K-bar, which is the exact style that Pav believes was used because the black K-bars have the serrated edge. What's also interesting is they were looking for a K-bar. Why was nothing done with this knife? I never realized that the knife found was a K-bar. So they found a K-bar that had rust on it and did nothing with it. They didn't test it. They didn't do anything with this knife. What? Are you kidding me? Now, this will be part of our FOIA. The FOIA that we're raising money for right now is all of the calls, reports, body-worn camera, anything to do with large knives that were found. I didn't care where they were found. I didn't care if it was, 3 towns over. I just want every call for every large knife found. And there was a return of 250 calls and reports. They all have pictures. And I want every single one of them because I want to compare every single one of those knives to every single one of those wounds on each of these victims and see if any of them could fit. What I find so interesting, though, is this one was said to have rust on it. So you mean to tell me you're finding knives that fit possibly the wounds, especially the knife that you're actually looking for or not looking for, apparently, and it's got rust on it, which could possibly be old blood, and you do nothing with it? Unbelievable. Literally unfreaking believable. And that is why I want this FOIA so bad, because I'm sure there's more. I would almost, I'm not going to do it, but I would almost bet my life that in some of these FOIA returns, pictures and everything, we're going to find the weapons that were used. I bet you anything. When you check out the game Psycho Killer, look at the weapon cards. Oh gosh. Well, let's just do it live. Let's look up this game. Let's look up this game. Damn. Psycho Killer game. Is that what it's called? Party game? Oh, sorry. Let me share. Oh, yeah. They don't want us to know. They surely don't. And I bet they have it safe and sound right at their police department. They didn't want anybody else to find it or test it and know that somebody else's DNA is on it, right? Surely they wouldn't want that. And honestly, I think that's why the price for this FOIA is so high. I think they thought we weren't going to pay for it. Yes, the heck I am. Give me that. Give me that FOIA. Give me that FOIA. Okay, Psycho Killer is a fast-paced 80s slasher-themed card game for 2 to 6 players. Players use classic horror tropes to sabotage their friends and survive the killer. The game ends with the 5th Psycho Killer card is drawn, and the player with the least amount of damage wins. All right. Oh, it doesn't share it. This is so weird. I don't know why it does that. If I change the screen or like click on a different link, it doesn't share the page anymore. It's weird. Oh my God. It keeps not. Okay, here it is. Escape tabletop game. Psycho Killer 3rd edition. The card game Can You Survive? Fast-paced party game, ages 16. Thank you so much, Angel. Only 2 more after this and we have the goal. Oh my gosh. We're that close already? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, you guys. You're the best. You guys are the best. Woo, woo. Woo. You typed that when I said it. Woo, woo. Hello. 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 Good to see you. You actually look like a girl I went to high school with. So cute. So cute. Oh my God. Who would want to play a game like that? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't because I'm a scaredy cat, but I could maybe see like somebody older wanting to play it at like a sleepover and like me being like young, like, yeah, I'll play too, but I really don't want to, but I play it because everybody else wants to play it. Let's look at the pictures. Oh my God. Is that like a hook knife? Chainsaw? Can you survive? Put the card you've just drawn back on top of the deck and draw the next card in set. So do you have to do what the card says? Slam the door? You've been what? Each player gives you a card of their choosing. Oh, I don't know. For you around and find out. For you around and find out. Thank you so much, you guys. Aw, thank you so much. You guys are so incredible. I swear, you guys just show up and show out every dang time. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. So we've got this psycho. Oh, let's play the thing.
Psycho Killer is one of the best card games for spooky season. In this game, you're tasked to survive the night in a 1980s and 90s slasher film. Lurking in the deck are 5 psycho killers and the weapons they wish to hurt you with. By the end of the game, you hope to have the least injury points to win. Also in the deck, there are a ton of different action cards that you can play at different times. These will help you survive by screwing over everyone else. Now, if you want
every choice you make determines if you survive. The Psycho Killer, a thrilling new party game. Use your cards to avoid injuries, lay treacherous traps, and evade perilous predicaments. With 5 Psycho Killers on the loose, ready to attack. Survive or die trying. Will you make it out alive or get left for dead? Beware the Psycho Killer, coming to a game night near you.
Yeah. It doesn't really like, oh, maybe this will.
Psycho Killer.
Here we go.
The card game. And yes, it's exactly as fun as it sounds. It's a fast-paced party game for 2 to 6 players, built around retro horror and slasher movie vibes. The VHS box packaging alone is worth talking about. It looks incredible on a shelf. The concept is simple. The Psycho Killer is on the loose, and you need to survive. Use your cards to defend yourself, or leave your friends for dead. Because sometimes that's just more fun. Watch out when the Psycho Killer shows up. His arsenal of weapons is ready to do damage, and if he appears 5 times, someone's taken the hit. It plays fast, it gets chaotic, and it works brilliantly as a party game for horror fans. Ages 16 and up, so leave this one for game night with adults. This is the 3rd edition, which is an Amazon exclusive, and it's the most complete version of the game. If you love horror movies and card games, this is a no-brainer pickup.
No, I feel like this is like, excuse me, inviting like evil spirits into your personal bubble that I don't want anywhere near me. No, thank you. I will pass. He said it looks good on the shelf. I think it looks good in the garbage. No, we will not. But thank you anyway. But no, that's, I mean, it doesn't that kind of sound like something that like Dylan would want to play though? Allegedly. I'm not playing it. That's like that whole, I don't even want to say it, but stiff as a light as a feather, stiff as a board on The Craft. I know you guys have seen The Craft. That is an excellent movie, but that's a scary, creepy movie. Okay. We are going to get into, so hear me out, okay? Hear me out. I know Travis T. Logic, our statement analyst, I know he said that we should not really do statement analysis on prepared speeches because it doesn't get the natural linguistics of somebody speaking. Usually you want, what's coming off the top of their head. But I wanted to do Bill Thompson's speech at the plea deal because, what he would have said as like his opening statement, because I do think it would be interesting to see exactly what his words told us when he had the time to prepare a speech and choose his words very carefully. So, just so you know, I did analyze his entire speech. So we're going to do this now. It's not a long speech, but I have quite a bit. I found quite a bit on it. So let me bring this over here, maybe. Okay. We are going to go over it. Let me share. Thank you so much. Sorry, my screen is stuck right now. I can't put it on the screen, but I will. 1 second. Give me 1 second. I don't know why my computer's running so slow right now. I should have restarted before I went live. Where is it? Where is it? Oh no. I'm frozen. I'm frozen. Ugh. 1 second, guys. I don't know if you can hear me or see me, but it's frozen. My goodness. My goodness. I don't know if you guys can hear me or see me, but I'm trying. It's frozen right now. It's thinking. It's thinking. One minute. I don't know if you can hear me or see me, but 1 minute. 1 minute. I gotta fix it. Okay, you can see and hear me. Okay. I have a piece of my screen that is frozen right now. And I need to get it off, but I can't. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Where is it? Bear with me. Bear with me. There we go. Okay. Yay. I'm fixed. All right. Ooh. Now everything's thinking. Okie dokie. Let's try this one more time. Okay. I think it's my Word document that's making it funky. Funky, funky. Funky, funky. There we go. Okay. Let me share. We'll try this again. There it is. Yay. Okay, so we're going to get into Bill Thompson's speech at the plea deal. There's actually a lot to it, but I'll try and move it along and not spend a whole lot of time in one small, tiny area. Where is... I got to make it bigger. Much larger. There we go. Now you can see it. Okay. So what we're going to do today with Bill Thompson's speech is separate the language from the evidence. He starts with, Your Honor, the organization of the recitation, is that what he says? Recitation? Or did I just type something random? Is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence as an overview would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing at his parents' residence or residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. So let's go right back to the beginning. Bill Thompson says, as an overview, the evidence as an overview would show. You don't say would show. You don't want to use, when you're speaking factual evidence, you don't want to use shoulda, coulda, woulda, words like that. Why not just simply say the evidence shows? Well, you wouldn't say that if you weren't telling the truth. It's a softer commitment to whatever you're speaking on instead of just saying evidence shows, evidence proves, evidence is there. It's not. So he can't say that. Oh, look at you. Thank you so much, Conspiraling. We have 5 new pack members, Canine Crew. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thank you. So then he goes on to say, when the defendant was residing at his parents', he uses the word the defendant, which is psychologically distancing himself from Bryan, because he could have just said Mr. Kohberger, like he does a lot of times, or Bryan Kohberger. Why not just say his name? You're in court. He says with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior, we are talking about supposed factual evidence. What is shortly prior? Is it 3 days? 3 months? I mean, he should know the exact date, right, of when Bryan Kohberger purchased an Amazon gift card to then go on to Amazon and purchase a knife and sheath and sharpener. But instead we get shortly prior. Well, that's not very distinctful evidence, is it? He should know exactly when. Peter Hyatt would focus on, where is the source? If this is a fact, where is the proof? A receipt, an invoice, Amazon records, bank records, a witness. Where is the proof of this coming from? He doesn't state it, and we've never seen it. So where is the proof in the language? Bill Thompson says, the evidence would show, not we recovered the recordings, we recovered the records, we recovered the evidence, the receipt, the anything. That's not what he says. He says it would show. What would show? Thank you so much, Laughs. So much. We appreciate you. We have another paw pal. Okay. So here, the speaker is not describing what they know or how they know. The speaker is describing what they want the listener to believe the evidence will establish, not that they have that evidence. Bill Thompson says, jumping ahead the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, he says it there, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. So, moving to Pullman, this is a highly factual statement. Pay attention to how he uses Bryan's name, though. There was no qualifying language here. There wasn't any added anything, not we think, we believe, it would show. It's just facts. So he can speak factually about Bryan Kohberger moving from Pennsylvania to Washington, but he never speaks factually or has factual language when speaking on any of the actual evidence they claim to have. He follows with the state's evidence would indicate, not prove, not we have a receipt, that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Bill Thompson says, indicate, not the evidence shows, not records have established, and surely not the data proves. He says, would indicate. Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower. Bill Thompson does not say Mr. Kohberger was at King Road. Instead of asserting his location, Bill Thompson described a technical event. This is done when the data itself does not fully establish what is being said. He wants the jury or the listener to think Bryan Kohberger connected to a cell tower that was directly in front of King Road and 1122 house. But that didn't happen, and he wasn't even in the area. He just connected to a tower that services the area. That doesn't mean he was there at all. He says, now I will acknowledge. So Bill Thompson literally interrupts his own narrative to acknowledge a weakness in his own statement. And that is very strange linguistically. Bill Thompson is trying to get in front of this info. He is trying to serve to a potential jury or a listener because he knows Bryan Kohberger's cell phone connecting to a tower that services King Road means literally nothing. It does not only serve King Road. He's literally saying there are multiple innocent explanations for a phone to connect to that specific tower. Bill Thompson knows how weak his evidence is, so much so that it's not evidence at all. Connecting to a tower in a town that has 2 towers, maybe 3 if you're lucky, and that would mean that those 2 towers service the entire town. So if you're going to Target, you're connecting to the tower that services King Road. It means nothing. He says between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on approximately 23 times. I found that linguistically, adding a time frame increases the impact of the statement to the listener. But the problem is, we know that 16 of those 23 times Bryan went to Target. We also know there's only 2 or 3 towers, and we also know each of those times Bryan was still over the length of a football field away from 1122 King Road. He also says the word approximately 23 times. So Bill Thompson can give exact minutes, exact hours and time frames and exact dates, but he can't give the exact amount of times? Then wouldn't the dates and times be weakened by this statement alone? It does not make sense. He says, now I will acknowledge also we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 King Road or with residents of 1122 King Road, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. He said, we do not have evidence. Not we have limited evidence. We have circumstantial evidence. But he said, we do not have any evidence at all, if you listen to his language, that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 King Road. That's huge. The evidence does not establish entry into the house, approaching the house, contact with the house, or contact with any of the people who lived there either. Bill Thompson is saying Bryan did not ever meet the victims. He never spoke to the victims. He never communicated with the victims. He never followed the victims on social media. Zero contact whatsoever. But we can put his phone in that area on those times. Notice the wording there. Not we can put Bryan Kohberger there. Not we can place him at King Road. Not we can place him at the residence. Instead, Bill Thompson says we can put his phone in that area. Again, he's following the phone, not the person. In this whole entire speech, Bill Thompson follows the phone and not Bryan Kohberger at all, ever. He uses the phrase, that area. Earlier, when Bill Thompson was talking about the house, he would say, serves the area of 1122 King Road. And now he gets even more broad. He says, that area or the area. Not at the residence, not at the property, but the area. So where does the area start and stop? We don't know. Why does the prosecutor repeatedly say his phone rather than the defendant? And he repeatedly concedes what the evidence cannot show us. He continuously interrupts himself to say what you won't see in the evidence. It's extremely strange. Bill Thompson goes on to say, in the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Lake County Sheriff's Department, Darren Duke, conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m., on the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, his phone number and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. Notice, Bill Thompson says, the officer pulled over Bryan Kohberger's car. He is persuasively making your mind put Bryan in this specific car, so when jurors see the vehicle later on 1112 video, they connect Bryan as being the driver of suspect vehicle 1. There was no point in mentioning this traffic stop as there was no criminal conduct, no suspicious behavior, and no evidence recovery. This was specifically to connect Bryan to the phone number to the phone. The phone is playing the main role in this entire narrative, this entire speech. It doesn't make sense because the phone was never proven to be at the crime. Although they claim it was because the phone was shut off, but there's zero proof of that too. So in hindsight, this actually doesn't make any sense. And then we move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the north central, northwest part of Pullman. Notice again, Bill Thompson says we're back to the evidence would show, not proves, not establish, but would show. And he says Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence. That is very odd because phones don't leave residences. People do. The main actor is Bryan's phone. Yet we know there's actually no reason for this. Bill Thompson says that phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. Not Bryan turned his phone off, but that the phone was turned off. He's passively accusing Bryan Kohberger. He's making Bryan Kohberger take responsibility for the phone's actions, but we don't know that, you know what I mean? Like, the whole focus is the phone. The entire speech, the whole focus is Bryan Kohberger's phone. So he has passive language when he says the phone was then subsequently turned off. Passive language is often used by the accused to take responsibility off of themselves. For example, I broke the window versus the window was broken. Two different things. So he's not saying Bryan Kohberger shut off his phone. He's saying the phone was shut off, which tells us nothing. He also uses the word approximately 2:54 a.m. The word approximately softens the certainty, which is very strange here because the time is so very specific. This statement seems very unsure by Mr. Thompson. He said the phone remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. Again, a specific time, very specific. It came back on at 4:48, he says. Yet he says approximately before the time again, which makes it very uncertain. Notice the silence window. The phone goes off at 2:54. The phone comes back on at 4:48. Bill Thompson doesn't say what happens when the phone shuts off. He says the phone leaves the apartment. The phone goes off. The phone comes back on. This is a storytelling technique, and it would make the person that's listening fill in the gap in their own mind of what happened during that time. He wants the jury, or what would be the jury, to fill in that gap to say, oh, he committed the crime. That's what happened in between those two times. But he doesn't outright say it because it's not true. Bill Thompson says the state's evidence includes a trial video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway just across the state line from Moscow that would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Bill Thompson did not say it will show Kohberger's vehicle. He did not say it would show Kohberger driving the vehicle. He did not say it would show Bryan Kohberger at all. Instead, he says a vehicle matching the description. This language is substantially weakening what he's trying to prove. He goes on to say compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then shows the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. So earlier in his speech, Bill Thompson's language was the vehicle matching the description of, and now it's stated as defendant's car. This is actually important because if the evidence didn't change, then why is his language changing? The vehicle has changed from a similar vehicle of Bryan Kohberger's to Bryan Kohberger's vehicle, but nothing changed evidentiarily. Why? Like he's just suddenly trying to strengthen his language to make whoever's listening believe Bryan Kohberger was behind the wheel of that vehicle, but they don't have proof of that. He said entering the neighborhood starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. He's using softening language here because he says starting around 3:30 or so. Well, previously in his speech, Bill Thompson used exact dates and exact times. And now there's a big contrast in saying around 3:30 or so. Starting around into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. At approximately 4:05 that morning, the defendant's car had entered that area and was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road. He did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that defendant's car came back and parked. So I say, Bill Thompson said the car comes into the immediate area, not the driveway, not the property, not the residence, not the front door, but just the area. This is much broader than many actually realize. He wants you to believe Bryan Kohberger is the killer and he went to that house, but he never says that. He says like broad terms like he was in the area. What's the area? What is the dimensions of the area? So Mr. Thompson, by stating the dead end area, he is psychologically, he wants the listeners to think, oh, dead end, huh? Well, if there's a dead end, then he was meant to be there. Bill Thompson is playing mind tricks throughout this whole speech. He says he leaves several times at approximately 4:05 that morning. The defendant's car had entered that area and was stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, and then he did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. And I say, at what point does Bill Thompson stop describing a vehicle and start describing it as Kohberger's vehicle? And what evidence justifies that transition? Before it was similar matching vehicle, and now it's the defendant's car. But there's no evidence in between his language to prove that it's Bryan's car at all. He goes on to say the state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122. First of all, he says the state believes. The state believes is an opinion that is not even close to a fact. And then here's the big leap in the speech. First, it was a phone, a vehicle, a location. Then there is a major transition into the defendant entered the residence. But there is no evidence to bridge that gap. There is no evidence that would change the narrative so drastically. This is literally a trust us, bro moment. He says he enters through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. This is important because Bill Thompson just connected the vehicle, the parking location, the door, and then entering the door. Now his story, because this is not evidence, this is just storytelling, is now seamless for him, right? It's now seamless. He just connected everything. The phone, the car, the area, the parking, the house, him entering, he's the murderer. But again, there's no evidence that changed to bridge that gap. He's just telling a story. He says the defendant entered the residence and went to the third floor, and with a knife, he killed Madison Mogen and Kaylee Gonsalves. This is significant linguistic escalation. No longer is he saying would indicate, we believe, matching the description, the phone and the area. Now he entered, he went, he killed. But still, no evidence to prove. He says the defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving the sheath. He uses the word for whatever reason because he is acknowledging that it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the story. It doesn't make sense. He's literally making his whole story seem really uncertain now. For whatever reason. You wouldn't say that. If that is 100% concrete evidence, wouldn't you use the language that is, he left the freaking sheath there? What an idiot. He says, for whatever reason, he ended up leaving the sheath. He says, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left. He changes it. First, Bryan Kohberger left the sheath. Now he's changing it immediately, saying a knife sheath was left. Not that Bryan Kohberger left it. He changes his words purposefully. He was the invisible man with high knees and bushy eyebrows and a pointy cylinder in his hand. Just in case some still don't get the meaning, trust me, bro. Oh, man. So he says he left, or the knife, the K-bar knife sheath was left on the bed next to Madison Mogen's body. He's basically saying, look at this language. Bill T himself takes the sheath and he detaches it from being Bryan Kohberger's. He says, a K-bar knife sheath was left at the scene. The sheath was left. Not that Bryan Kohberger left it. He says, and I can jump ahead. Linguistically, Bill Thompson's speech and mentally, he is now, by saying I can jump ahead, he is now leaving story mode and he is consciously entering factual evidence mode. He says that sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and a single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Maddie and other trace evidence. Other trace evidence. How come he doesn't say there was male blood mixed in with Kaylee and Maddie's on the sheath? No, he says other trace evidence. Well, your other trace evidence is quite a bit more important than some skin cell in dust that was on the, not the snap, but the strap. It's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. Single source male DNA, he repeats it twice. People usually repeat phrases because they want you to remember them. That is not an accident. What specific evidence allows the prosecutor to move from describing a white vehicle, a phone activity, to confidently describing the defendant entering a home, walking to the third floor, and committing the murders? There's no factual evidence that is added or changed or anything to make this legit. This is just storytelling. He says the state's evidence would show that Xana Kernodle was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. He says, in fact, this is like a verbal highlighter. This phrase is used when they want to strengthen a point and make you believe it. In fact, not long before, her room was not on the third floor. It was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana and he ended up killing her also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. He says, as the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered. This matters because it infers uncertainty. He doesn't know exactly where the defendant was. He doesn't know where the defendant was in the house. He doesn't know what was going on in the house. He offers alternatives for you to keep on believing his story. He said he ended up killing Xana also. He encountered Xana and ended up killing her. That implies it was an accident. We know Xana was in her bedroom and more than likely opened her door to whoever was behind it, where she then was attacked. Bill Thompson is trying to imply that Xana was not part of the plan. He said, I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there is no speculation. Why bring this up? It's narrative control. Nobody asked, nobody challenged, nobody addressed it. Pay attention when questions are answered, but the questions were never asked. Nobody asked him about the sexual assault. So why does he feel the need to do that? He goes on to say there were 2 other roommates in the house and they were already asleep. Lies. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door, not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And there we have a huge leap. Again, before we had, matching the description of, and the phone entered the area, not Bryan Kohberger. Now we have a very specific, she saw this defendant sitting right here, Bryan Kohberger. Although we know she herself would not say that it was him in the picture. They showed her a picture and she said, no. Bill Thompson goes on to say she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom were to see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walenta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. Bill Thompson says, at a high rate of speed. That is interpretation. That is opinion. That is not fact. This is to create emotional imagery of the defendant panicking, trying to escape, and an urgency behind his driving. But it's just storytelling. He says the car almost loses control. First of all, no, he doesn't. Second of all, he makes sure to use the word almost before making that claim. It's persuading. He's trying to persuade the listener. Almost loses control, which means he didn't lose control. So why even say it? He goes on to say the evidence would show that the following day, the defendant and his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route, and they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Lake County. He, again, is inferring with his language. He's inferring something that Bryan Kohberger did when there's no proof of it. Bryan Kohberger could have been somewhere else completely, like Wawawe Park, right? Which is why you don't see his car on the highway, because he didn't go that way. This does not mean he took back roads just because you don't see him on surveillance cameras on a highway. That doesn't mean that at all. He says at about 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. Thank you so much, Labs. I appreciate you. So sweet. The phone comes back on. Again, not that Bryan turned it on, but just that the phone came back on. Things like this are important to notice. He takes Bryan out of that equation. The phone came back on. Why didn't he say Bryan turned his phone back on? Because he knows that didn't happen. It's a lie. And he's in court. That's why his language is so specific. He prepared this speech. He's not going to stand up in court and lie. Well, he is, but you know what I mean? He chooses his words very carefully. And that's why I think it's important to do his speech, because you can see every time he doesn't say Bryan Kohberger did this, Bryan Kohberger did that. He doesn't say that. He says the phone was turned off, not Bryan Kohberger turned it off. He says from there, the defendant's phone activity tracks heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. At about 5:26, Various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington, pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrives at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, this is still Sunday, the 13th of November, 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. Not Bryan went to King Road. Mr. Kohberger's phone went to King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 in the morning. He returned to that area, not returned to the house, not returned to the crime scene, but returned to the area. Well, we know he went to the ATM. It's there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence about 9:30. The state's evidence will show evidence taken from a defendant's phone that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of this Pullman apartment with his thumb up. He says what appears to be a bathroom. How come it's not he just took a picture in his bathroom? The thumbs up. Bill Thompson is implying that the thumbs up was for a reason, like confirmation. In hindsight, we know Bryan had plenty of thumbs up selfies. Even the Barnyards, the Cellbrite people said he had plenty of selfies with his thumb up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This is the area, the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. You see what he's doing there? He's not outright saying he wants the listeners to purposefully think of destruction of evidence, disposal of evidence. He threw it in the water. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th, 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, not it proves, not we have a receipt for, the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. He starts off strong by saying business records will show, but then minimizes his own statement, following with the state believes. Again, he proves nothing but interpretation. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. What does he mean, all these transactions? I thought it was just one transaction. It doesn't prove anything. He's just saying it suggests that. I'm sure it could suggest lots of other things too. Later that week, the state's evidence would show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing. Now, see, he says it will show in here. It's factual. We don't often see this in his speech, except when it actually happened. So if you notice, all the other times he would say it would show, we believe, we suggest. Now he's saying Bryan Kohberger went to the DMV. It will show you that. It's a change. It's a change in his language because Bryan Kohberger did go to the DMV. So he's more confident in saying that. He talks about the license plate, the vehicle seen on surveillance camera. The defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it at the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August. It was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Kohberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Kohberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania and they conducted what's called a trash pull during the nighttime hours. Agents of the FBI who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from Pennsylvania residents of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensics Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogen's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. That is not true. There is nothing that shows they took DNA from his mouth and matched it to the DNA on the knife sheath. That never happened. Right. You would think she could. Ugh. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. That's an opinion. Him saying virtually, he just had to add the word virtually. Why does he do this? Because it leaves room. When he says the word, there was virtually nothing there, it could make a juror or somebody listening say, well, virtually, that leaves room that something could have been there. They just didn't find it. But absolutely no evidence was found. He wants listeners to think maybe they missed something, or it's possible something was there. So he tricks the mind by using the word virtually. After the time of the killings in Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally, and it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, in those compartments in the doors. You try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. His was spotless. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned. This language is classic jury persuasion. Notice what he's doing. He moved from evidence to a relatable experience. He's trying to get the jury or the listener to relate to him, saying, I got crud in my car right here. You've got crud in your car right here too? That's crazy, because Brian Kohberger didn't. It's clean. It's clean because he committed a murder. But they had to say something about that, because they couldn't say, we disassembled his car and there was no evidence there, which is not possible, right? You're surely going to find that much blood in that crime scene. Surely you're going to find some of it in the car. Can't get rid of all of it. He didn't take apart his car. He said, and the state would present to the jury that was part of the defendant's plan in covering this up. This is crucial, because he said it would present to the jury, not. He does not say that it proves he did it. He says it would present to the jury. He's telling the listener his own conclusion, but that you should agree with him. He said the defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. Why even mention this? Bill wants to imply and make listeners think, oh, he studied crime, so he has the ability to cover one up. So, Your Honor, at the end of the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, lie. Would show, lie. That as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, Mr. Kohberger entered the residence of 1122 King Road in Moscow. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not present that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that this is what resulted in that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice and forethought, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. Thank you. Notice this entire speech goes like this. Possible observation, phone connected, camera recorded, DNA found. Then he switches to completely interpretation. Likely, we would suggest, the state believes, to then a conclusion of, well, he entered, he brought a knife, he killed, he covered it up. Seamless. But we have to be careful of this because this is how juries are persuaded to believe things that are not fact and not evidence. This is how innocent people are convicted or forced into plea deals. That is Bill Thompson's speech, and there was a lot more in there than I expected to find, especially being that it is a prepared speech. He chose all of those words very carefully, and in the whole speech, whenever it came down to anything factual evidence, he could not directly say, this happened, Bryan Kohberger did it. It was always like, the phone turned itself off, and we're going to suggest, and maybe kind of crazy. And that's what would have been said to a jury. That's wild. That's really wild. So, with that being said, we are going to share our Bronx's buddy of the day. This is Vera Lynn McPherson. Vera is the baby on the left and the baby in the middle. There's a little story that goes with this. This one on the right, although looks exactly the same as Vera, this one is Val. And this is Alice's baby. And she had Val. And Val suddenly got really sick and passed very quickly, unexpectedly. And Alice was really struggling with it. And Alex prayed and prayed and prayed and screamed and had a horrible night and woke up the next morning and found Vera that looks just like Val, to then give her something to live for again. So yes, so we miss Val and we love Val, but we are blessed again to have Vera to fill our soul. And it will never replace Val, but we do have Vera and we love her just as much. And she is amazing and she's so cute. And I can't believe how much they look alike. Isn't that crazy? You lose this baby and literally the very next day, this one just pops up, needs a home. And she says, oh, I'll take her. Aw. Thank you for sharing both Val and Vera with us. And that is so stinking cute. We love her. We love them both. All right, guys, do something nice for yourself today. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your animals. If you don't have, I know I mentioned that I had a message thing at the top of my YouTube, but I realized that you have to activate it by sending a message via like text message or email, and then it activates your message. So you might not have it yet if somebody hasn't requested to message you. So And they have to have like your contact to do it, and then you can message on YouTube. So sorry if I said something that was not working for you and you wanted it and it's not there. So I apologize, but it is there. You just have to find a way to activate it. So thanks, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you to the mods, and thank you to everybody who donated tonight. It is so very helpful. Like I said, we are trying to get this, and I need to post it on my page so you guys know the exact price. It's over $700, but like I said, I will match everybody. So pretty much I'll end up paying half, and donations will pay for half. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on Wednesday.